So I'm over here. Let's see, where can I stand? I haven't seen these. These are wonderful. So those of you over there, here's what they're getting to look at. And I think, is that the same as this other one? Or is it a different? No. So for you people, that's what they're getting to see. All right, so it's fascinating how God works. I've realized recently that the last time we went through a major capital campaign, we planted a church at the same time, and which is not the kind of ideal move. But our church from the beginning has been committed to a couple of things that are hard to hold together. On the one hand, from the very beginning, our church has been committed that we're going to be a church for the city of Harrisonburg, located in downtown. And from the beginning, we've recognized that buildings are important to churches outlasting the energy of the founders. That a church having a building as a home is just as important as you having a place to live. And the wear and tear of renting and of always having kind of housing insecurity, it's just as serious on a church as it is on a family. And so we know that buildings are important for shaping communities. Whoever the Christians were several hundred years ago who committed to starting churches in this city, and they built buildings out of it that churches following them got to experience and live in for centuries, that was a huge gift. Like, there were a group of Christians, a long time ago that used their money to build Asbury United Methodist Church and First Presbyterian Church and Parkview Mennonite Church. And those Christians that paid the price many, many years ago were not only building a home for themselves, but they were securing a place for the church in this community for decades and decades to come. And it's continued to bless our city. Our city really is a friendly city, and it's because of the deep commitment of the Christians and the churches over centuries to this place. Now, we're in the position that Christians at Asbury, at First Presbyterian, at Harrisonburg Baptist, at Parkview, at all these, we're in the place that Christians there were in many, many decades ago. We're in the place of giving our money to help build a building that will be used beyond our lives. And so we've outgrown this building. It's hard to see that now. It's hard to see a lot of things during coronavirus. One of the things about our church it's hard to see is that our church just utterly outgrew this space. This is a great space for a church of around 150 people. But before the coronavirus, we were a church of 260-something people regularly worshiping, and then more than that when you add in all the people who just show up. And this building just didn't work for that. And so we sold this building to Christ Presbyterian Church, which is a wonderful thing. That there's another church that now owns a building in downtown. And then we purchased 75 North Mason Street, which is exactly what we had been praying for a very long time. The parish council has been praying and asking God for a church that was between 10 and 20,000 square feet. This church is 5,000. This building is 5,000 square feet. That building is 15,000 square feet. It was exactly what we were asking God for. We had opportunities to find land and building outside of downtown, and there was nothing downtown. And we just kept going for it. And then this amazing building opened up. Now, so they're going to tell you more about these plans and more about the finances of it. But what I want to ask you to do is to think about this. Since last fall, we've sent about 75 people out of our church. Last fall, we sent about 16 to 20 people to Church of the Lamb to help them because they were moving this direction. This winter, we sent around 40 or 45 people to Restoration to plant the church in Stanton. And over the spring and the summer, we encouraged people in our church for whom our church's way of gathering wasn't what they needed at this time, to feel the freedom to go to other churches in our community who are gathering in ways that worked for them, and whether it was to go for a temporary moment or to stay, to do that. And since then, about 15 or 17 of our people have gone to Church of the Lamb and have sensed God calling them to stay there. So over the last 12 months, somewhere between 60 and 75 people have come out from our church to help other churches. Restoration, Church of the Lamb. That's an interesting thing, that we went from around 265 people to, it seems at us, best count now, we're a church of around 200. That's not normally what you do when you're about to enter into a very expensive building campaign. But it's a commitment our church has always made, that we're going to be a church that seeds and plants other churches. A couple of years ago, we made the commitment that by becoming bigger, when we did this, it didn't crash our church. It didn't break us down to such a small place that we could no longer keep on going. And that's exactly what's happened. The Church of the Lamb entered into the coronavirus with different needs than we had. They needed more people. They needed that. We entered into the coronavirus where we had more people than we could do anything with in this building. And we were big enough that we've now been able to help other people find other churches that they can help. And it's not going to kill our church, but here's what it is going to do. It's going to challenge us, each of us individually, to say, okay, God, what are you asking of me to do for the Church of the Incarnation? This is my church home, so that this church can continue to live for your glory and the good of this city on the other side of the coronavirus. So Josh is going to come. Is that right? Josh, there is Josh Defnall. Josh is the chairman of our building campaign. He's going to talk for just a moment. And then Ed Good, the chairman of our capital campaign.
All right, is this thing on? We good?
No.
Nope. Good? Okay, we're going to keep going. I'll speak louder. Josh Defnall, I'm as Aubrey said, chair of the building campaign. And then if you're on the building committee, would you stand? I think I saw Wes. Is there anybody else? Okay, there we go. All right, thank you. So Wes, and I didn't see if anybody else, but Laura, you're on the building committee. It hasn't been in the last 2 meetings, but she's on the committee. So I'm going to kind of lay out where we're at 75 North Mason right now. I'm going to highlight a few things on the drawings and the design and some things that we're really excited about. So over at 75, if you've driven by in the last 2 weeks, you'll notice that we've started demolition. Yay! Yeah, and that's a big thing. So Carter Bank moved out. September 30th was their last day there, and we moved in within 10 days after that and started tearing it apart. That is going to take us through the end of the year. So all the interior walls, everything's coming out. There's a good bit of asbestos. We're doing that abatement. So that's about 2 months worth of work. And in the meantime, we are trying to finalize these drawings so that we can get these submitted to the city for permitting and be ready to roll late January, early February with the new renovation. There is also the floor plans for these. Then those are going to be out in the lobby for you to look at. So a lot of the things that I'm going to highlight now, you're really going to be able to see on the floor plans that are going to be in the lobby. So, and just a quick orientation. Can I take this thing out? Sorry, we're going to do this. So, because there's views here, but this view here is if you're standing at the intersection of North Mason and Elizabeth Street. So if you're looking at this building, the parking deck is on the right, and then Klein's on the other side of that. And then on the far view over there, that's if you're standing in the parking garage looking at the building. So you'll notice that, okay, I'm not very good with microphones. So you'll notice that this bump out, this is all a new addition for us. It's about 55 feet or 60 feet long, and we're pushing it all the way out to the sidewalk to give us a little bit more foyer space that allows us to build a little bit of a bigger sanctuary. For us, what we're really excited and what this allows us to do is in this section here of the bump out, so the left-hand side of that bump out, that's really a designated art gallery space. And on the other side, on the right-hand side, is two things. It's a designated prayer room, so kind of a miniature sanctuary, and then additional storage space. And we really felt like, and plus when we added the bump out too, that allowed the architects to get a little bit creative, right? So we need to make a 1960s bank look like a church. And a lot of the kind of philosophy behind that was let's work with the current architecture. Let's find ways to enhance it, make it modern. So we did that by blending in different modern elements like steel, stone. So you'll see a lot of the characteristics of our current architecture in here as well. So a steel cross, steel beams. So we're kind of a continuation of what we've done here, especially in the sanctuary, kind of in the back. Very similar wood paneling. Zeke Trainum's going to have a lot of points in this building too. We're bringing him on board to do quite a few different things. And then in the upstairs is where I think the life of our church is going to see some big change. The biggest, so two big things. One, classroom space. So multiple godly playrooms, toddler room, youth room, and those will get the double. So on Sundays, that's going to be their primary use, children. And then during the week, that they lend themselves for all different kinds of utilization. So they're going to be multi-purpose. And then also we're bringing the offices to the church building, which lots of people, we're very excited about. We'll have staff in the building throughout the week. And there's five private offices, and there's a conference room. So in all of those ways, our church is taking a huge step, and that's going to be a big change for us. We're also going to have a kitchen, like a full-size kitchen with countertops, stoves, and you have more than 2 square foot to brew coffee in the morning. Hospitality-wise, we're going to have being able to host events, have a kitchen, do potlucks, do all that stuff. We're going to have a lot more options moving forward. Who knows what we could use the classrooms for upstairs as well. So we're very excited. Again, we're looking for demolition to end sometime, by the end of the year, and we're going to start launching the new construction in the first of the year. We're kind of in a spot where we're obviously budget, so we're kind of working through what can we do now, what can we do later. We have not finalized color schemes of any sort on the interior, so we're looking at chairs right now. We're looking at doors and door hardware and cabinets and toilet partitions, all of those really fun things. Flooring, so that's kind of where we're at now. We're trying to finalize all that, and we're trying to provide some budget pricing options for the leadership team, so parish council, capital campaign, and that way when we get down to the end, we can kind of figure out, okay, what do we do now? What do we do later? How do we get this thing where we want budget-wise? So that's kind of where we're at.
Well, good morning. My name is Ed Good. I was asked at least 3 times, probably, to serve as chair of the capital campaign for this new building. I said no twice, and then in a time talking with God, God says, "Go ahead, yes, do this." So here we are, and here we stand. There are 4 on our committee. The only one on our committee other than me that's here would be Lindsay Rosie, back there on the next to the wall, and then Jeremy Shepard, who did all the work for the brochures and things that you see. Incarnation for Esther and I is the third church that we've been involved in helping to get started. The first one was Church of the Redeemer, a Presbyterian church in the suburbs of Atlanta. I remember a session meeting. That's the leaders of that church, and we had just started. I think we just built our building, and we were struggling financially. And the treasurer said something that was very disturbing to us. He said, "We have no money, and I don't have the money to pay the electric bill. But we're also not paying a missionary that we've committed to supporting. So what do you do as a leaders of a church?" You know what I'll never remember. I'll never forget Paula Sharp saying, "We cannot not support missionaries that are dependent on us, who are overseas, who have no other resources." So we paid that bill. And you know what happened? The church failed. The church fell apart. We had no money to pay the electric bill, so the doors were shut. No. God blessed us and provided for our needs then, and also going forward in the future. That's in the way, kind of how I look at this building. I mean, the sermon this morning, it sounds like, well, we need to give all our money to the poor. Yes, it's very, very important. But I see my gift to this building campaign is a way for us to build our church so we can do more in the future for the needs of our city and for the poor. We have a goal, as you'll see on the brochure that's at your place, a $3 million campaign. Now, we've been told that the renovation is $2,800,000 plus the cost of the building, roughly another $1 million. So we're looking at about $3,800,000. And so you ask, why didn't we set the goal at $3,800,000? Well, we could have, I guess, but we had started working with a $3,000 goal, a $3 million goal, and we have stuck with that, knowing that we have approximately $400,000 in the bank now from the sale of this building, and the parish council is discussing maybe borrowing a modest amount of money going forward to complete the project. So our goal is $3 million. Now, on rule of thumb on a capital campaign in a church is you can raise maybe, if you're blessed, about 3 times your annual budget, which would put us at about $2 million. So we actually have extended ourselves in a goal that is very daunting and very challenging. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is two pieces of good news. One is that we already have raised $956,000. That's as of a month or so ago, so maybe a little bit more. So let's say that we've raised about $1 million toward this goal. The other piece of good news is that the rest of it is in this room, or it's those of you who are listening online, or it's those in the next service. We have people giving money now in our church, $50 a month. I've been receiving some information on some pledges. One is $50 a month. Maybe it's $20 a month. I remember in the last campaign, the Hogan children, I think it was like $6 a month they gave. I mean, $6 a week. So every Sunday in the envelope would be this little envelope with $6 cash in it from the Hogan family. Every gift counts. So you'll see on the pledge card or on the chart of gifts, it's a suggested amount, with the largest gift being approximately 25% of the campaign goal. And every one of those levels is important. Someone's giving $50 a month. There's a young single guy in our church who's giving $150 a month. There's a young family in our church who's pledged $1,000 a month. There's others, another family in our church who's pledged $100,000 going forward. We need all of those gifts at every level, and it's going to take sacrifice on our part. So the schedule going forward is this. Small groups are going to gather here in groups of 2 or 3 groups, starting Wednesday this week, the 4th, and then the 11th and the 18th, and then one Thursday night. You'll hear more information about that from your small group leaders. We will talk more in detail and answer more questions at that time, Josh and me and Aubrey and whoever else could be a part of that. So that's information that you need to know going forward. If you look on our website, the church website, there is a whole dedicated section of it that has drawings, pictures, video that just was made this week of the architect walking through the building and explaining how it's going to work. And then at this point, we have scheduled November the 29th, 4 weeks from today, our Pledge Sunday, where we will be presenting our pledges to the Lord, to our church, for this building. If you want to give me information or someone else on our committee information, or you want to mail your form to the church, put Capital Campaign on it so we can keep it confidential and just the committee will know what it is that you're saying you want to do or aiming to do. So the Pledge Sunday on the 29th, that's the goal, where we'll know kind of hopefully where we are. And yes, any questions at this point? I think we probably are running out of time. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Like Ed said, your small groups will be meeting in this building for the next 3 weeks. You talk to your small group. If you are not in a small group or you find out that you can't attend the night your small group is, November 12th is in the worship guide. You're available to come. It's from 7:30 to 9. We'd love to have you. Just email me, Laura at the Incarnation, so I know you can come and have a spot for you. Thank you guys for your patience, for sticking around, for paying attention. We are going to end with the blessing.
Please stand. If you can't see this cross, you can see this one. Point to whichever one you want. All our problems, we send to the cross of Christ. All our difficulties, we send to the cross of Christ. All the devil's works, we send to the cross of Christ. And all our hopes, we set on the risen Christ. Now receive this blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. Let's go forth into the world in the power of the Holy Spirit. Thanks be to God.